there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I'm trying something a little bit different and rather quite out of my comfort zone. So bear with me, remember that this is my first one, and also just that it's really good to get out of my comfort zone. I need to remind myself of that occasionally. So I bought a couple of stamps, one that is kind of specific, but this gorgeous flower here is what kind of started this all off. Now I'm going to start off by using some Masking Magic by Gina K. When I want to reuse masks or I need one that I know is going to have really crisp lines and absolutely no bleeding through, then this is my go-to. This stuff is amazing. So I have cut out a very plain oval, as you can see, and then I am going to line this up the best I can to get this even on my page. Now, did I go about this the best way? No, not in particular, but I die cut the oval randomly, and now I'm just going to do my best to line this up. But you can do what you can only do what you can do, so it is what it is. Right, I have lined it up the best that I can, pulling off the release paper in two separate pieces, and that helps me line it up evenly. Make sure I seal all of the edges. Go around with your finger to make sure that everything is pressed down nicely, because I'm going to do some inking. Now I know that there are fabulous tutorials out there on YouTube, and lots of different people do this kind of style often, but I think this is probably not my style that I lean towards, but I think it's fun to try them. So I'm going to be creating things with the things I already have, which is kind of a big motto of my channel. I like the use what you have, use what we have in our stashes. It's nice to get new things occasionally, and that does definitely help inspire me, but I'm just coming in with my Distress Oxide finger daubers. And I'm pretty much using some residual ink. This is mainly because I am lazy, or efficient with my time, as I like to call it. I am doing sort of a sky in the background, and then, I'm not sure, going for a fairyland kind of look. Purple down the bottom. I have these cloud stencils, which I actually just cut with the die, and then I have reused these for a couple of years now. This is honestly just my go-to. Again, I know there are many gorgeous stencils out there that do exactly this, but this one works for me just fine too. So I'm creating some clouds or a sky background. Very easy, just going over with the background stencil and then just changing the direction, changing it a little bit with a light blue color. And then I am going to add a little bit more definition around the edges. So taking, I think this is the Wilted Violet. It looks like the last color I used on this finger dauber, but it really doesn't matter. Honestly, whatever inks you have, you can make this part work for sure. Now, I did get this card requested to have one that was from a family member that had a little fairy in it, and so I did have to purchase the fairy stamp, but this flower here caught my eye at the same time and I couldn't resist. So this one is called Fairy Flower, which is not surprising, but I'm going to do a semi-silhouette, because obviously this is a relatively solid flower, so I'm just popping it down in the bottom left-ish hand corner. Except for a birthday card, I kind of feel like black is a little bit harsh, especially because this one is for a youngish person. And so I'm actually going to go with Morning Mist, which is a grey colour. So this is the VersaFine Clear. It's going to stamp absolutely beautifully. It is a pigment ink, and I have a whole video on my channel around the VersaFine Clear inks and which ones I would recommend, and all of the information and reasons and all of those good things. So I'm pretty sure if you search VersaFine Clear, it will come up. Otherwise, I will try and remember to link it down below this video too. So I am using my stamping platform because I do have a mask on here, and sometimes that can create a mini halo if you don't press hard enough. But I also wasn't sure whether I wanted to have 1 or 2 layers of the Morning Mist color. So one is kind of a bit light, so I definitely decided to come in with a second one, and I think that's somewhere in between the kind of silhouette thing where black, a black is often used for the silhouette images. So I'm going to peel this one off, and then from here I have this gorgeous little fairy stamp. Now this one here is called VIOLA. Now there are lots and lots and lots of different fairies in the Fairy Hugs range, lots of different stamps. I picked up 2 to begin with just because I feel like, as I said, this isn't my normal style, but I did really enjoy this, and I'm wondering what else I can do with these. So as I said, for the moment I've picked up these ones. she's kind of going to be, I know that it looks like she's flying, but for this one she's sort of standing on just the very tippy petal of the flower, and then I'll show you something in a second that we are going to add to her. Now this card evolved a whole lot because I had no idea where I was going with this one, and so I really like how it came out. I think it all came together really, really well in a bit of a surprising way, but we're going to get there. So again, stamping the fairy in the same Morning Mist colour. And then when it came to what she was kind of wishing away, or wishing she was blowing out of her hand or whatever, then I have this as the other one I picked up, and this one is called FIFI. So what I liked about this one is I like that she is sitting down, and I also like that she can have those little things in her hand. So one of them is Bubbles, but I'm going to go with the other one today, and this one I'm just going to freehand stamp kind of coming up out of the page there. I did have to make sure they fit. I was definitely running out of room, so I actually just stamped the individual one a couple of times so that I would have enough room to fit everything where I wanted it. So it's working out so far, but at the moment I think this is relatively plain. I mean, it looks fine, but I wasn't sure where I was going with the rest of the cards, so it's going to come along a little bit further, I promise. Now for this one, I am going to add a little bit more pink, just because I thought I didn't have enough colours in there. Just the purples and the blue felt a little bit too, not quite enough. So I added a little bit of pink. Obviously that's what I was feeling. And then, as I said, from here it feels not quite complete, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Now I have this stencil. I have zero idea where this is from. I have no idea where it's from. And I thought I just really liked that I could add the centre of it to the kind of center around the fairy, and it just drew a little bit more attention to her. So I'm going to add a little bit of extra ink around there. Now I did kind of move it around where I wanted it to go. I made it work for me so that everything was kind of coming in towards the fairy. And I think this also adds a little bit of extra texture into the background, and even though the picture itself is quite plain. So this is my favorite part, the reveal, which is always beautiful, and I think this kind of makes it feel like it's coming together a little bit more. But another couple of little hacks that I have, I'm going to create a frame. So I'm going to take two of the oval dies. One of them is the same size that I used for creating the mask, and then I'd have one slightly bigger as well. I take some low-tack tape. This is the mint tape from scrapbook.com, and I have taken a little bit and I have it face up, the sticky side facing upwards, and that way I can make all of my dies fit together to create a perfect frame. I'm going to run this through a few times. Now, absolutely, you could just run this through one time and then use foam tape underneath. That's going to work perfectly. For this one, I decided that I was actually doing another project later on, that I needed the inside size oval. Now, this is a long story, but, and that is why I chose the size oval to begin with. I was hoping trying to do some double up. So that was actually the main reason that I have all of these pieces of cardstock that I was able to cut out, because I needed all of the ovals anyway. And then I'm going to add some liquid glue around the outside of these and put these together. If you didn't want to use the liquid glue, then you could use a double-sided adhesive sheets before you die cut it. But to me, that just feels like a lot of waste, because I didn't need the adhesive on the back of the inside of the ovals that I needed. So liquid glue was going to work just fine for me. Now, I have a nice thick frame. I think I put 5 of them together in the end, and although it just adds a tiny little bit of texture, I think this is worth it. It just adds that kind of little shadow of a frame going around the picture. So I like this, and I think it's worth it, but you can most definitely skip it, or you could just stamp on a border or a frame if that's something that you had. You could draw a squiggly line like I have shown in the past. I have the messy kind of squiggly freehand style. I think that would go really nicely here too. Although I didn't have a grey pen that would work, I only have black fine tip pens, and so I didn't want to use black because I hadn't used that in the background as well. So this is the border that I came to. Now, as for the sentiment, I have been loving going super easy with these, and for this one, as I said, this is going to be a happy birthday card. So I'm just going to use these from Simon Says Stamp. I got these 4 and have been loving them. The birthday one is super easy to just pull out a sentiment. I store the leftover ones in the back so that I can use these if need be. Now, I did this fairy straight onto my card base, so that did make life really, really easy for this, and that is why I wanted to make sure my masking was nice and even, because I knew I wouldn't have the chance to adjust it later on. The one thing with these sentiments that is brilliant is that most of them go straight across, so you're able to use your trimmer if you're not as confident with the scissors. I use long bladed scissors if I'm going to do this. If I tried to cut across this with cutter bee scissors or little fine detail ones, I get the wiggliest lines. So if I'm going to cut freehand with scissors, I always use my long bladed 9.5 inch Tim Holtz ones, but any long bladed scissors is going to work much better than short bladed ones. Now this is going to go straight across the center and finish this card off with a little bit of Stickles here and there. This is just a glittery little highlight that I'm going to use. So I really enjoyed making this card. Honestly, it was something out of my comfort zone, something I haven't really tried before, I haven't leaned towards, but I think it came out okay. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments section down below. As I said, I'm probably not one to follow for advice on these sorts of cards because there are so many amazing ones out there on YouTube already. But for what I had and just buying the extra fairy stamp, I thought this was pretty good, so I was pretty happy. Thank you so much for joining me as per usual. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!